All right, some other news now. Pilot fatigue and hitting the wrong switch are some of the reasons why a plane went off the runway at Waterloo Region's airport back in 2022. That's according to a report just out today from the Transportation Safety Board. CTV's Heather Senoran's been reading through that report for us, joining us with the latest. Heather, we're going to remind people, too, this was a commercial flight with passengers on board.
There were 134 passengers and 6 crew members, Tony. It was a red-eye flight from Vancouver to Waterloo Region. There were no injuries, but after the incident, commercial flights in and out of the airport were canceled for the rest of the day. A landing gone wrong. This Flair Airlines Boeing 737 overran the runway by about 500 feet at the Region of Waterloo International Airport in November 2022.
Off the runway, in the grass, we were bouncing a little bit, not terribly. I was in the front of the plane. I believe the people in the back of the plane were getting a bit more of a whiplash type effect.
Kitchener resident Paul Anstead was flying back home from Vancouver.
They had to get a staircase from the airport and bring that to the plane, and people walked down the staircase and then onto the city buses where they brought us back to the terminals.
More than 2 years later, answers from the Transportation Safety Board.
So after landing, when he goes to do his normal thing, pull out the usable thrust reverser and start braking, all of a sudden the airplane was doing something totally unexpected.
Pilot fatigue was one of the reasons the TSB listed.
The regulations have been updated as recently as 2018 to try to get a handle on fatigue in the industry, but there's always going to be room for improvement in that regard.
Flair saying in a statement, in part, Flair has industry standard fatigue management software and refined scheduling practices.
It's a little concerning that, if you've got pilot fatigue.
Another factor, the pilot meant to disengage the auto throttle but accidentally pressed the takeover or go around switch, and the aircraft's left thrust reverser was not working, something that was reported 6 months prior but wasn't flagged as a recurring defect.
If the thrust reverser had not been broken, it would not have happened. If he had not pressed the wrong button, it would not have happened. If the weather had been nice that day, it would not have happened.
The TSB says the pilots managed the situation well, considering
being able to keep the aircraft on the runway horizontally or laterally and slowing the aircraft down to the point that they did before getting onto the grass definitely made it a much more benign event than it could have been.
Flair also said, since the incident mentioned in the report, we have maintained a perfect safety record with enhanced measures that exceed industry standards. The Transportation Safety Board tells me there was very little damage to the aircraft, just a lot of mud to clean up and a washer inside the landing gear system that needed to be replaced. Quite minimal considering how deep it got into the mud when it exited the runway. Tony.
Okay, Heather Senoran with that report. Thank you very much, Heather.